Good day, PJ or Fanele. How you doing, man?
Hey man, it's been a long day in it, but I'm good, man. I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. I would like to start off by saying thank you for joining the podcast today. Think it would be good if you just went ahead and introduced yourself to the audience.
All right, shout out, man. Thank you, Keith. For having me. It's a pleasure. It makes me feel like I'm someone important. My name is Fanele, but all the cool people know me as PJ. And to keep it short, I'm a medical student. I'm doing my fourth year.
Okay. You say you're a medical student doing your fourth year. Obviously, I know these type of details, but for the audience, where are you studying right now?
I'm a UKZN, Nelson R. Mandela School of Medicine.
And how's it been going so far? What's your experience like, if you don't mind me asking?
I have I'd say a pretty unique experience. No, a very unique experience in med school because, I mean, the first year was like basically online, apart from like 3 maybe or 4 days when I went to campus. Then second year, it changed, right? And we also started having assessments like in person. But I also had a pretty unique experience in that I'm also one of the students who stayed at home. So I'd live at home and I'd travel to school when I needed to. Um, and so when you're not surrounded by a bunch of other medical students and you're not in constant contact with a lot of other medical students, your mentality is significantly different. Like right now, I live in rest and I'd say my mind and a lot of what I value and do has been pretty different to the way I'd lived my life when I was back at home. Um, and so with that, yeah, I'd say I had a pretty unique experience, eh? So to just take you through, first year
Mm.
was a non-year. I feel like for most of us, I'm pretty sure you, Keith, would also say first year was just a non-year for you because
Yeah, first year wasn't real yet.
yeah, it was a mess, man. Yeah, the pandemic really messed up a lot of things. But then um, second year, I would say I had a lot of health, especially like mental health issues to do with. Pretty sure as like residual from 2020, the lockdown, and being a matric student and expecting your results and all that mess that really wasn't dealt with because I had to go straight into becoming a university student. I had to at some point deal with it. And I think that the time I realized I needed to deal with stuff was in second year. That's when I started dealing with stuff. Um, and but I say the year where I experienced the most growth was last year in my third year, sort of both just me personally growing up 2021, but also like as a student, I felt like in my third year I gained the hunger and the love for learning and wanting to know more and just overall wanting to be good and do good.
It definitely sounds like you've been through quite a bit, man.
Hey man, haven't we all? But it's all part of the journey.
The question I have for you next, um, you said you spent your first few years at home instead of being at res. How did you cope with that? Like I only know the experience of staying at res or staying with other people that are doing similar work. So I know if I ever like run into an issue, like there's somebody down the corridor or on the opposite side of the building I can just like talk to or vent to. How did you manage to get through situations when you were like kind of isolated in a sense?
And that was the issue in it. The issue was that I wasn't managing and I wasn't coping with a lot of situations. And of course, I had friends to talk to, but when people are far, you always think, they got their own things to deal with. So then you just, choose to deal with it yourself. And I'd say actually the biggest problem was actually the fact that I wasn't with people who were like me and like, students, who were learning. So the people who like stay in the like who don't do anything the whole day basically,
Mm.
you can't expect them to understand your experience as someone who has to go do practicals and write assignments and study for exams and just overall prepare yourself to go to school and learn, and also to showcase what you've learned in like the skill sessions and all those sort of things. So you can't really expect those people to understand you, and so then certain accommodations weren't made, and that messed up my routine and like my habits.
I get where you're coming from. Like, it definitely does sound like a difficult situation to deal with, where the only people around you can't really relate. But you definitely made it through. You're here today, and shout out, man! Like, you made it.
Hey, not yet, my boy. Not yet, my boy.
You're close. You're close.
Yeah, but yo, this year is pretty interesting. You like you can't say you don't have anything to do from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed. There's always something to do, whether it's like writing portfolios or like assignments or actually doing clinical work in like the hospitals or the clinic or yeah, the clinics or whatever it is, mid block assessments. There's always something to do. It's just a lot.
How would you say you balance that out with your day to day life, like outside of school?
I'll tell you the truth, and this is the honest truth for me and a lot of the students here. You don't. You you prioritize school, and then you see how much of your day to day life you can fit in. That's why I think a lot of the people here and a lot of some of the interns and the people in this profession end up a lot of them end up addicted to something. Most of them end up addicted to alcohol or just maybe not addicted but dependent, or they just drink a lot. Let me not try and pathologize people's behavior, but a lot of like the med students and some of the doctors, they do drink a lot, and I think it's just because once you prioritize your work or your schoolwork that much, any little opportunity you get, you use.
What would you recommend, or what kind of solution do you see to the problem?
The same solution I recommend for any personal problems anybody could be going through, which is just like introspection and sort of looking inward and yeah, developing healthy habits maybe. But this is this is a very tricky situation because it's like I don't think I don't think many of them believe it's a problem, and two, I don't think they want to change it. Even if they do know it's a problem, I think they're very okay with the problem.
Yeah, you raised a very good point there with the introspection, but you also raised the point of not a lot of people want to face that. Like, it's very tough for somebody to be brutally honest with themselves if you think about it.
It takes a lot of like bravery, and it takes time also. I think it's for someone who doesn't have the time to just sit around and introspect, it does seem like a hassle. It's much easier to just carry on living life the way you've been living.
Definitely, it's definitely something that's easier said than done. But once it's done, in my opinion, it takes you to a really good or much better place than before.
Oh yeah, definitely. I feel like that's one of the tools I use in my own personal life to help me navigate, because there's a lot of situations you come across, and sometimes you're not even sure, do I is there a problem here, or am I the problem, or you're not too sure, and it's easy to just you know let it go and let it sort of like build up and snowball. But it, it's good to just even if you don't do it at the moment, like at the time that something occurs, it's good to sort of pack it up, leave it, and just go back to it and sit with it and see where you get, see where your mind takes you.
As I said before, like it definitely is something that would take time, but it does sound like the wise option, like the smart thing to do. I think we've actually discussed quite a bit in this episode, and I feel comfortable leaving here with that piece of advice to just take some time to introspect. You know,
Yeah, I think that's good advice actually.
yeah. Thank you for your time, and I'll see you again in the next session.
Right, sharp.